Good morning, fam. Welcome back to Erica's EDC, and today we are talking about hunting knives for EDC knives. This is a really interesting topic that I've been invested in lately. It's something that I kind of grew up with and then, lost for quite some years, and now I'm back into it, and I just want to share kind of my thoughts and my ideas with you guys on running a hunting or trapper or bird and trout style knife for an EDC knife. Now, before we get into it, we have to talk about what a lot of people run for, fixed blades when they do use fixed blades. Not a ton of people run them for their EDC knives, but generally speaking, when people do, it tends to be something more like this. A knife that is a little more short and stout and with a wider blade in this direction, so like more blade height, kind of more like snub-nosed, and they can be thin and slicey depending on where you get them from. But a lot of people typically run a blade that is, higher and shorter. These tend to do better for cardboard processing realistically. And a lot of people, for some reason, when they think EDC, all they think about is like cardboard processing, and package opening and Amazon box opening. Like, I don't know how that even started. I mean, it was probably larger YouTubers just doing that and only that for EDC tasks, just processing fucking boxes. And now for some reason, when you think fixed blades, you just want something that's kind of short and thin with a bigger blade height. Trying to find another good example here, because that's all we really know, right? Here's another good example. This is a BGM Knives mini spade in crew wear. This is double hollow ground, but again, you have that kind of like really big blade, right? Really tall blade, and then short and stout and concealable. And we don't really know much else, right? But we're going to kind of go back in time here, and we're going to look at a bunch of hunting style knives, trapping style knives that are a little more slim and sleek and pointy, and I'm going to talk about why I like them. So here we have a Primitive Bear Knives Hunter's EDC. This is in 80 CRV2 blade steel. We have kind of I guess you would call that a clip point blade style, but it doesn't like swoop in like a lot of clip blades. But here's a really good example. I also have the Duckhead Forge Flit in M390. This is a really cool one. Some of these are customs, obviously, but we'll show some production ones too, like this Bark River Knives Water Moccasin. This is a really cool one, has a big swoop. It's kind of like a steak knife almost. This one's in Magna Cut. We also have a Montana Knife Company Blackfoot 2.0 in Magna Cut. This is more of a skinning blade, as you can see. Very cool. This one's a lot shorter. The Goathead Knives Trapper in Nitro V. This one is really neat. Love the crowned jimping on this one. Absolutely gorgeous. The next one that I'm going to show, I can't like recommend buying one of these literal knives, but we're just going to talk about the design real quick. So this is the Jeff Davidson Gecko in 80 CRV2 blade steel. This is, I believe it's called a Texas Drop Point Hunter, which I really enjoy this design and how small it is. You guys know why I can't recommend it. There's a whole bunch of content on that, but the design itself, because this is genuinely the only Texas Drop Point Hunter that I have in my entire collection, so I have to use this as the example. So beautiful representation of like a Texas Hunter's EDC knife in terms of the literal just design. And then Essie makes a bird and trout knife, and this is the CR 2.5. And I'm doing the quotations because for a bird and trout knife, I think they have to be a little more thin and slicey than this one is. And this just, like, I really like how tiny it is and how you can maneuver it through game. But the blade stock thickness just doesn't really make a ton of sense for me for a game processing knife because it's just way too thick, right? And then it has nowhere to thin the edge out. So behind the edge, it's pretty damn thick because there's nowhere to even thin it out, right? So this for me, like they call it a bird and trout knife, but it's a little, you can kind of dispute that because it's just way too thick. But the design in general, little tiny fixed blade for game processing, right? So my whole point is, why would you choose these slim, sleek knives for EDC when in our heads, even with folders, we kind of think of like this type of knife as an EDC knife, right? We typically think height, full flat grind. That's what we typically think for EDC. Well, if you were doing things aside from cutting cardboard, running a slim, sleek knife is actually really useful. So the number one thing for me is food processing. Now, I know a lot of people would initially be like, why would you carry an EDC knife and process food with it when you have knives in your kitchen? Well, I'm sure you can predominantly relate to this. Your kitchen knives suck. My kitchen knives also suck. I don't care enough to buy a nice kitchen knife set. I don't have the money for it, but also I just I don't know, it doesn't intrigue me. There's nothing like fun about it. I'm not I love cooking, but I don't know. I've never really thought to buy a nice kitchen knife set, and I actually really enjoy using my EDC knives to make my food. I typically, when I choose an EDC knife, I will choose like a tool steel, a high carbon steel, so that the patina factor comes in because I really enjoy patina on my knives. So, I'll pick a knife that has like a steel that will take a patina, and I really enjoy watching that form over time, cooking steak and hamburger and, cutting fruits and veggies with it. It's something that I actually really enjoy. So for food prep, if you like using a fixed blade or your EDC knife for that, this style is really good because you have that long, slim blade that goes through food very, very well, right? You have to remember this is a design that was created for game processing. So they tend to have this sleek, slim, elegant design that just whizzes right through food. And they work really well for that. So cutting apples and oranges and steaks, it's awesome. These work really, really well for that. And I will say, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I'm being serious. Ever since using my knives for food prep, especially knives that take a patina, I've literally been eating healthier. There's something about the pleasure of using my knife to process the food. And you're not going to take a knife and process Doritos with it, right? Like, you have to choose real living foods, fruits, veggies, meat. So literally, the pleasure of using my knife every day for food prep has made me eat healthier because I really like cutting up apples with my knives and watching the patina and, making steak and cutting it up. It's going to sound so cheesy and so silly, but I genuinely really only eat fruits, veggies, and meat. And part of the reason is because I just love processing it and using my EDC knife, which is one of my biggest hobbies, for that task. So try it out, right? Carry a knife that'll take a patina, carry a knife that does really well with food processing, and force yourself to eat apples and oranges and peaches and pears and steak, and see how fun it is. And then your diet will literally change to be eating those healthier foods because they're fun to eat now. It's almost like being a kid. And then you're going to be healthier anyway. It's great. Sorry for Zadie growling. She's in bitch mode right now. Let's talk about more utility tasks. Obviously, if you process game, these are your go-to, right? You want something slim and sleek. I know not a ton of people are hunters or fishermen, but if you are, they work really, really well for that. Also for camp tasks, if you like to camp or hike, kind of back to the food thing, great knives to carry on you. They're lightweight. They process food really well, especially at the campsite, just a great option. But let's say that you work on a farm or something like that. These are great knives for farm work. If you're trying to look for something that will cut baling twine and feed bags, stuff like that, these are awesome knives for that. They have a really good tip, generally speaking, because you have that sleek design that comes abruptly, or not abruptly at all. It's elongated, to come to this nice pointy tip there. And that's awesome for like getting out splinters and stuff. If you don't carry a Swiss Army knife with the tweezers, having a really good tip on your knife works really well for, digging things out of your hand or whatever. If you get something stuck in there, I've definitely had to do that numerous times. But these are, great little light duty multi-tools because you can use the tip if it's reinforced enough to do light drilling, light punctures, okay? If you're running hose lines or something like that, or hell, if you even, if you're getting healthier and you're losing weight and you have to drill a little hole in your belt, congrats, you can do that with a nice tip on a knife. If it's reinforced enough, Generally speaking, on these blunt nose freaking knives, you can't do any puncture tasks with them because the tip isn't there. Let me try to find another example real quick. And I'm not shitting on these blunt tipped knives because I love them. I'm just trying to, literally this video is just like shining light on these old school kind of hunter's knives for EDC knives. Something like this little mini Kephart here, you're not going to be able to drill as precisely because this is just such a wide tip, right? Yeah, so these are awesome. And like, if you get one thin enough, you can definitely do the cardboard processing. You can obviously open packages, right? Like you can obviously do all of that normal stuff with one of these if it's ground thin enough. If you're running a really thick one like this is obviously not going to process cardboard for days without being sharpened, and the geometry is not going to lend you to cut through boxes super well with something like this. But like I said, if you don't just live to cut cardboard and you do other things, these knives are freaking awesome, right? You can pop zip ties with them, pallet straps. Like you obviously have to pick the right style for what you do. But I'm just saying, like, these hunting EDC knives are kind of like the unsung heroes of the EDC community. And I think people totally overlook trapper knives and hunting knives because they're not marketed toward, EDC people, I guess. So a lot of people don't even think to run them. But you can get them in all different shapes and sizes. Really nice. When I worked on the farm, I remember running a couple of the kind of more like traditional style fixed blades, and they did everything great, processing stuff in the garden area. So I ran like at the farm, I did all of the gardening stuff and the plants and everything like that. And the plants would come in these plastic trays, and they're all in the little plastic tray, and then you have to separate them for the customers. If anything, these types of knives did even better because when you have a huge plastic tray of little cucumber plants and somebody doesn't want 12 of them, they only want 5, and you have to, cut them apart, the cucumber plants or the tomatoes or whatever, they would already be like this high in the planter. So I'd have to try to cut out as many as the customer would want without, breaking the poor little goo baby plants. And when you have this length that's slim and sleek and you have that blade length, it was really way easier for me to kind of reach down into the plants and cut out however many the customer wanted with something slim and sleek like this, as opposed to taking something a little more short and stout and chunky it was way easier. And, you know, I didn't carry scissors on me. I just used my damn knife. But something like this that's short and snub-nosed and stubby, this is going to be way harder to reach down into places and to cut things with because it doesn't have that length and that slim, sleek design, that mobility and that flexibility, right? So, you know, these totally have their place. I love all knives. Like I said, this is kind of just shining light on these hunter style EDC knives and maybe giving you an idea for your next purchase, right? Like they're not just for people who hunt. You can totally EDC a skinning knife, a trapping knife, a bird and trout knife, and it could work really, really well for you, depending on the geometry and the steel and the size, right? They're just wicked cool. I think they're so cool. The old school design like this, I love it. This is kind of what I grew up with. I didn't grow up with these like stubby fancy box cutters, you know? I grew up with these like hunting knives, really. And I just still love them to this day, man. I think they're so cool. Do they do everything crazy well? No, of course not. But you can do a lot of tasks with something like this. You really can. And they're just so cool to use. It's kind of neat to like go back in time and carry the types of knives that our grandfathers used on the farm when they went fishing, when they went hunting, and we can still utilize them today. Just wanted to kind of make a video on that. I think they're just so freaking neat, man. I love carrying these. I really, truly do. So let me know if you ever EDC a hunting style knife. Let me know if now maybe you're thinking about it. All of these will be tested and reviewed, of course. Like I said, we're waiting on a few more blades to come in for that massive fixed blade testing, but we're really going to be comparing so many different ones and seeing what works best. I'll show you what I'm running today. It's not a hunting knife. But today, I'm running the Smith & Sons Brave in D2. This is kind of it's a drop point, obviously. This is kind of a hybrid. You could totally use this for, you know, skinning game. But this is also going to do really well at cardboard processing because it's full flat ground. It's got that blade height, but this is honestly wicked cool. Like, look at how neat this is. Not a review because I haven't tested it for 30 days straight, but just a really cool design. It almost reminds me of a fixed blade Benchmade bug out. Like, look at the handle, how minimalistic it is, and that full flat ground drop point blade. It wicked reminds me of the Benchmade bug out, which let's just bring it in for reference here. See how similar those are? I just think that's really cool. They have the same blade shape, they're the same size. So this is like a fixie version of the Benchmade bug out, kind of. Really cool. But yeah, I just love fixed blades and I want to make more content on them because I am really enjoying running them for EDC blades. But anyway, yeah, let me know if you are going to try one out. Let me know if you already run something kind of old school like this and it works well for your EDC. I will see you guys on the next video. Go use your shit. Learn how to sharpen your knives. And I will see you on the next video, fam. I love you so, so much. Take care.